In the Return to Learn this morning, we are continuing to speak with local schools about their plans for in-person learning as we start another school year amid a pandemic. ABC 17's Zola Crater is live in Jefferson City this morning, where she's with Superintendent Larry Linthicum from JC Schools to talk about how the district is planning for the return to classrooms on Monday. Good morning, Zola.
Good morning, Molly. As you just said, right now I am with Superintendent Larry Linthicum to talk about the return amid this continuing pandemic. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Larry.
Thank you, Zola. Good to be here.
Great, and we're going to start with the new mask policy that the district just announced on Monday. Larry, could you walk us through what JC Schools have done the past year and a half with masks and what led you to require them now?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're excited about the school year, and we want to ensure that our students have an opportunity to, reach their potential, and we want to make this world a better place and ensure that our kids graduate. With that and with the pandemic, as far as with over the last 18 months, it's been changing. Last year, we feel proud to say that we were the largest school district in the state that was able to stay open last year, and we learned a lot of things, but we're still learning as well. At the end of the day, our decision to require masks indoors when they are not able to ensure appropriate social distancing, recommendation by our Cole County Health Department for us is we have 18 schools and 16 here in Cole County, and the recommendation to ensure that whenever they cannot ensure social distancing. So we're still learning as we go. Life goes on. We need to ensure that we're that our kids are learning, and we're excited to start the school year.
All right, thank you so much. And what feedback have you received from families since that decision on Monday?
We've received quite a bit of feedback, honestly, both sides of it. There's a lot of opinions. We value that. We want to have empathy as well. And we know some folks that are super excited, and they're letting us know. And there's some that are not so excited as well. It's a very controversial topic, and we understand that. But at the end of the day, we want to ensure a safe environment for our students. When the health officials are recommending this, we felt that was our duty to do so. And at the end of the day, we want to have school, and just excited to have our students and our staff back.
All right, thank you. And I know you touched on it just a little bit, but will students have to wear masks while learning at their desks? What's the expectation for kiddos?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. At the end of the day, if you and I are in a classroom now, being 3 feet apart or more, and each classroom is different from with 18 schools and K through 12, the differing levels in our preschools as well with that social distancing. So in each classroom, it's 3 feet. But if they're working closer together than 3 feet, they'll need to put a mask on. So each child and each staff member will need to have a mask, but when they can ensure social distancing, they will not need to have that mask on.
And can you touch a little bit on masking policies for school buses?
Yeah, that is really a federal mandate for transportation and buses. So that's really not that's kind of out of our hands, but it is required for our students to wear on buses.
We're going to start with the topic of vaccination. So with some students and staff being vaccinated, how will that affect quarantines and close contacts?
Well, it will have an impact on that. If there's a positive case, and as they determine the severity of that or the situation, if they can prove that they've been vaccinated, that can impact where they could remain in school. If they say they've been vaccinated but they cannot prove that, we'll have to cite on the air of caution if that situation presents itself.
And going along with that, is the district planning on tracking vaccinations in any way?
We are not. We've had some families that have provided us that information, and that could impact a quarantine through the contact tracing, as you mentioned earlier there. But that's not something that we're, tracking. But some families have provided that to us.
Is that something that families have requested at all, or when the feedback you got in these new policies?
It varies. Some have, and some have volunteered that, and others have said, we're not going to provide that, and that's fine because we haven't asked for that. But if folks have volunteered that information, we will take that information.
All right, thank you so much. And some schools are asking staff and/or students to show proof of vaccination. Is that something you all have considered at all?
We've considered a lot of things, but that's not something that we are doing at this time, and not planning on at this time. But as throughout the entire school year, last year and this year, we'll continue to assess and evaluate the situation and the cases, and take guidance from our health officials and adjust accordingly, but not at this time.
All right, thank you. And is the faculty and staff allowed time off to get a shot now that the boosters could be available coming up in September?
We did that last year, and we feel confident from conversations we've had that if folks wanted to be to get the vaccination, that they've had that opportunity. So we did that last year. At this time, we don't have a scheduled time, but we'll take that into consideration going forward.
And going along with that, is there a new time off policy coming up for this school year as far as teachers who are sick or just going forward throughout the COVID-19 pandemic?
At this time, that's going to expiring here as we start the school year. So not at this time, but again, we know that there's many folks in the health field and DESE and just employers of that consideration going forward. There was this last year, but it expires here in September, and so that'll be consideration going forward.
All right, thank you. And is there anything else you want to add just on vaccinations as we get ready to start the school year here on Monday?
Well, we know it can be a barrier or a challenge, but at the end of the day, we're excited to see our students and our staff, and we want to ensure that our kids are learning and give them an opportunity to graduate and be ready, college, career, life ready. So vaccinations, COVID, it's part of life. It's kind of the new normal, and we need to adjust accordingly. And the old saying that you can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And we're excited to have our students and staff back for the upcoming school year.
And I saw in the plans the district had different levels to track positive cases. How will this work, and how will families know what level they're in?
Yeah, it's a great question. Determining of the red, yellow, green, as far as the severity with COVID and the impact on our schools. We're starting out as a green as a district, and with our 18 schools, depending on cases, individual school, we won't just have a green, or now we're moving to yellow for all 18 schools. It can be impacted differently at each school based upon those the cases in each school. So we'll communicate that with parents so they know what that level is, and then as we track that weekly, we'll be looking at cases not only just within our school system, but in the county and the community as a whole, taking into consideration. So at the end of the day, we want to ensure that it's a safe learning environment for our staff and our students, and we understand that folks may not always agree, and at the end of the day, we are in this together, and we want to just remind folks that of being patient. We're trying to take the safety of their child and of our staff members very seriously.
Thank you. And what happens if a student actually does test positive?
Well, that's the same as in the past. Once they determine, they communicate with the parents. Being quarantined, they communicate that. That's not something that, each individual student's information is personal to them, but it's communicated with the families. And if then they need to quarantine, as we touched on earlier, based on whether they can prove that they've been vaccinated or not, could be impacted by that as well. So we're being consistent. We learned a lot last year, but we're still learning as well, as I touched on as well.
Definitely. And students and families that are getting ready for the first day start coming up on Monday. What's the most important things for them all to remember as they go into this next school year?
I think number one is just the excitement of they can make this world a better place. And there's a lot of things about COVID and wearing masks, and we understand that, and that is part of it. But at the end of the day, we have an opportunity to make this world a better place, and the opportunities that we have and our staff to truly make a difference. And just with that, with COVID, then there's things of washing their hands regularly, just good good practices, that whether it's COVID or not, if they're sick, to stay home, and to be in tune with what's going on, and we'll try to do our part and communicate. But at the end of the day, we're in this together, and we're going to have speed bumps along the way, and that's okay. And we're going to try to communicate and work together, and just excited for this school year to start.
Thank you so much for all of this and for being on with us. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have with Superintendent Lithicum, and thank you so much again for being on with us this morning.
Thank you.